Hi everyone, I'm Ariana, training manager for the Autism Project. This video, getting your Rhode Island driver's license, is intended specifically for autistic adults living in the state of Rhode Island who are interested in getting a driver's license. So again, that's anybody over the age of 18 who does not yet have your driver's license, but you're interested in getting one. This video comes in two parts. The first, I'm going to introduce you to Joan Kramer. Joan is the founder of Therapeutic Driving and Occupational Therapy, and she's going to talk to you about some of the variables to consider before getting your driver's license. Joan will also talk to you about the therapeutic evaluations that she does to see if you're ready to get your driver's license. After Joan's done, then I'll take over. I'll talk about some of the basic steps to getting your license here in Rhode Island. So first, let me pass it over to Joan.
Hello, my name is Joan Savigny Kramer. I am an occupational therapist and a certified driving rehab specialist. I'm the owner of Therapeutic Driving with Occupational Therapy. I am here today to present on when should training begin for getting a driver's license if we have autism. So I look forward to sharing some information, and I want to say make sure you have an open mind and understand this is a journey that's individual for all people. The benefits to having a driver's license are very numerous. It provides us opportunities for employment. It allows more social opportunities for young people who want to get out of the home and move about and be free and get social time with friends. We can create a sense of confidence when we know that we can leave our home and do what we need to do to live a fulfilled life. And we want to also increase participation in home management. So that's because you got to go grocery shopping. You need to maybe go to get some kind of items from a store that help you have a home environment that's safe or more fulfilling with new towels or whatever it is you need to buy. But just being able to go out and about and live your life to the fullest. But with driving, it also comes with a financial responsibility. And I often bring that up early in my training because I believe that it's important to be preparing for the financials that one must have to operate a vehicle. We will talk about that more in a later slide. First and foremost, the benefits to driving come with an attention to safety. My first focus and primary goal is to make sure my students and their families all know that safety must come first, and there's no one way to move through this process of getting a driver's license. One thing that I cannot teach anybody is the desire to drive. It's a factor to consider because no one can make you drive. We all come to the world of driving with different levels of anxiety or worry about hurting somebody. I know it's common that when I work with people of all ages, driving a loved one, a family member, without an emergency brake is very different than getting in my car where I have my own brake, so I can keep us safe. And it's a very reassuring aspect to their worries about driving. They have a desire, but they have a worry. So we work through getting them to feel safe. There's also no right time. Everyone is going to do this journey of driving and getting a license in a different way. The best way to learn is really important to identify for each individual. Everybody learns differently. Some are visual learners, some are more auditory learners. Some people struggle with right-left discrimination, so I might need to use different words. But being honest and a partner in sharing your desire with that driving instructor is so important. And my job is to make sure I listen to the students' concerns and worries, respect them, and allow the learning process to work within those worries and slowly but steadily work them out of the process of learning how to drive. When we grew up, we had developmental milestones. We first were a baby, then we walked, then we began to run, and then we go on through life learning lots of things. Everyone is different in that path as well. We all live in different environments. We all come to this journey of looking for our license with different exposure to driving. So it's really important to start at a level that you're comfortable with. And we talk about what we see as a child, right? What people do when you're the passenger, even now. Do you pay attention to the speed limit sign? Do you pay attention to cars that are stopping in front of you? Are you using your vision to give you information about the sensory stimuli in your environment? And then do you remember what those rules of the road were? It's important not to coast through a stop sign, but to stop at a stop sign and hold it 3 seconds, and having the time in your life to be able to learn the rules of the road. For some, that might happen quickly, and some it might not happen as quickly. And we have to integrate our physical, our emotional, our visual, our sensory, and our cognitive skills to move through the process of learning how to drive. Our physical needs for driving are real, whether we like it or not. We all need to have good posture. We have to have a certain amount of muscle strength. We need to keep our head upright. We need to sit at a certain spot at the wheel. And all those things come with practice and influence of a good driving instructor who's going to make sure you meet those criteria of looking over the steering wheel, for instance. You can't see what's ahead of you if you can't see over the dashboard. So, coordination of our hands and feet moving simultaneously at the same time, but doing different things. Our foot might be moving to the left to hit the brake, and our hands might be moving to the right to turn the wheel to make a proper change in direction. So we need to make sure our bodies are ready to do those things. And at times, I teach people activities to do outside of the car to help strengthen their ability when they're operating a motor vehicle. We also have to be able to be ready for reactions of unexpected events. As a passenger, start to pay attention to how do you react if a car jumps in front of you without a turn signal. We can't be focused on the fact that they broke a rule, that they didn't put their turn signal on, but we have to be focused on how we can maintain our composure to tolerate their actions and be in control of our vehicle. So that's all part of driving, and you can build that strength and that tolerance to those weird events by being an active passenger. Some people think I just need to look down the road and know where I'm going. But visual processing is really important. When we drive, our eyes have to move in so many places almost at the same time. We need to be looking ahead of us and knowing where we're going, that we're staying in our lane. But we also need to know who's behind us. How close is that car that's following me? Did I put my turn signal on and make a lane change too quickly and not realize there was a car to my right or to my left? So we do need to know what's happening all the way around the car. Concerns about driving are another distraction. We need to make sure we're not overly focused on what others are doing or experiences of the past, but we need to make sure we're thinking about where we're headed and our ultimate goal of learning how to drive and doing it safely so I can get my license. There's a lot of what ifs in the world, right? Driving does require a bit of, um, I'll call it not anxiety, but attention, being mindful. I often want to know what if somebody doesn't stop at a red light and I get the green light. I need to be planning. So you have to have it can be difficult to pass a permit test if you don't learn the rules. So preparing for a permit test is what's needed before you can even get behind the wheel. So sometimes you just have to find a different means of preparing for that permit test. There's a lot of knowledge that is required to pass the test. Working with the right person will help you know the right tools to um, re-educate yourself if you've struggled, and you have to let go of the times you might not have passed and take them as an opportunity to learn what to expect when you take the test the next time. Lessons have started, and you're worried about driving. You're not wanting to get in the car with your practice partner, and you're not sharing with them that you're nervous. Well, share how you feel and practice as a passenger with your practice partner. Then start in an open environment. There's lots of strategies to work through worry or an apprehension to get back behind the wheel. If something negative happened, it's a learning opportunity. Use an instructor who has a brake and control the car. I had somebody recently, that's exactly what happened. They had an issue with their practice partner, and they voiced to me, "Oh, but with you, I have a brake. You have the brake. You're going to protect me." And so that's sometimes the value of having extra driving instruction by a licensed driving instructor with the safety features. We'll have difficulty with parking, but there are strategies for parking. And if you work with the right person and practice in the right environment, most of the time it's going to work. And will you be able to get your license? No one knows until you begin the process, until you begin to gradually build skills. And some people need to do it over a longer period of time. Some people need to do it, take a break for a while, work on some of the skill sets needed, and then get back into driving it. Don't give up. There's a lot of emotional considerations to driving. You have to be able to tolerate a horn blowing or an emergency vehicle's loud sirens and not let go of the focus of driving. You have to be able to interpret the rules, but yet allow a little wiggle room. Well, yes, you're supposed to use a turn signal. If somebody else doesn't, it's not your issue. You need to kind of be able to know I've got control of my car and not get too worried about that. It's also having your instructor use the right words to help you follow the directions. Like I said, right, it's difficult, right, left, right, left. So I might say my way, your way, and I might change my words used to help somebody. I might use a dry eraser marker and put an L on the windshield next to the driver and giving them a reminder that's my left. So there's lots of different strategies that I've taught. Anxiety about past experiences in a vehicle are real. They must be worked through. And working as a team is really important. Both you are the leader of the team, your driving instructor, a parent, family member, loved one, whoever it might be in your life supporting you on your journey. Your practice partners, it could be a different person. If you have teachers or vocational rehab people, we all have to work at this together and find the right resources to help you through that anxiety. If you're feeling so overwhelmed that you can't even sit in the front seat, get used to that. Get yourself out of the back seat into the front passenger seat and begin your gradual introduction to driving. And you'll know when the right time is that you switch over to get that permit or get tested. Financial considerations are really important from the beginning. I am going to say that sometimes I get people who have succeeded getting their license, and in the end, they go, "Oh, I don't have any money saved for a car." You have to be able to pay for your permit. You need to be able to have expenses for driving lessons. Some individuals need more driving lessons over a longer period of time and work with a practice partner in between those lessons. It still costs money. And getting your license, there's a fee after you get to the DMV and pass your tests. You need to have access to a car for practice. It might be that you pay for more driving lessons or you pay somebody gas money to use their car if they're willing to work with you. Once you have a license, you need to pay for insurance. You need to pay for car maintenance. We all need to get new tires every once in a while. Oil changes, keep your engine running. And you have to follow all those changes and those needs. There could be a repair unexpectedly. Car registration costs money as well. You've got to have a registration renewal every few years and an inspection sticker here in Rhode Island. Not all states have that. Should you move, just understand different states have different rules. And then there's our wonderful fuel. We need to have gas in our car. The more we drive, the more gas we're going to need. So ask a driving instructor. They use more gas than an average person driving to work one way for 2 miles and one way back home, but it's all worth it. You might wonder, how am I going to do all these things? So, therapeutic driving with occupational therapy started in 2023 when I realized that my occupational therapy skills were what helped young people and individuals who really wanted to drive as they evolved in life. And I want you to know that it's a different skill set than a traditional driving instructor. While I am a driving instructor and have a driving school in Rhode Island, I also am an occupational therapist, and I look at the individual and their abilities. I assess the individual very comprehensively for their vision, their cognitive processing, their physical abilities, strengths, weaknesses. We got to figure out if there is a problem in that area and how we integrate sensory awareness and emotions to driving. So all those areas have to work together, and that's what my assessment does. And then we can create a plan. What do we need to do first? What I do tell all of my students is they have to have a practice partner because they need to have somebody work with them on the skills that they're building on. Everything, if practice makes perfect, right? So we practice on simple moments. It doesn't have to be for 2 hours or an hour. It can be for 20 minutes after school or after work or on a weekend, but you've got to practice in between lessons. We need to look at a person's past medical history when I do the assessment. And I look at getting somebody's medical history and doctor's input so that if something is needed through the DMV, I'm going to be your ally. I'm going to be your advocate and make sure everything works smoothly to get you your permit and your license. This is the look that I sometimes get from my clients and students. Is driving for me, is that a cute look, a worried look, a content look? Uh, thanks for caring for me look. It's one of everything. This is my puppy who is the most sweet, lovable dog who hates driving in the car, just so you know. And I add that with humor because we're all in a different place in life. If driving's for you, you need to know that there's a process you need to follow. I'm here to help people figure out what that process will need to be. Everyone will be different. There are no two plans that are alike. The evaluation I do helps us determine and identify plans for moving forward. A willingness to go slow and steady is really important on behalf of the student because I'm not going to rush anybody through a process that worked for one but might not work for them. You have to have a desire to be independent and do this journey because driving is a responsibility and it's also not a right, it's a privilege. So we need to make sure you're safe in all aspects of driving. You need to be ready to work hard and accept instruction. Yes, it is feedback as you learn to drive. It is not a critique. It is not a negative uh, fact when I try to give somebody a different hand placement or talk to them about their posture. It's always about how will you manage this vehicle in a safe fashion. We need to identify plans to manage expenses related to driving. It is a journey and it is a bit pricier than some people have to experience if their learning process is not challenged in some way or other, but you also need to do it safely and ability to be patient with yourself. You're gonna be able to work each phase as your body and your mind allows you to, and we're in it together. I'm committed to help people make the right decision and be safe. So at any time, if somebody does have questions about their readiness, their ability to possibly get a driver's license, I'm always available to answer questions. This is how you can reach therapeutic driving with occupational therapy. Yes, that's me in an earlier day, and that's the phone from my high school where I learned how to drive with my dad picking us up and driving us in the parking lots. But I would encourage you to make sure you take this journey's first step with your team of family and teachers and yourself and loved ones in a very conscious, safe, focused manner. And we are here to help you and define what's best for you.
Thank you, Joan. So now we're going to talk about some of the basic steps to getting your driver's license. Maybe now you've had an evaluation with Joan or you feel ready to begin getting your driver's license. One thing that's important to know is it's never too late to get your driver's license. You might be in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or beyond. Any time that you feel ready to get your driver's license, that's okay. Everybody has their own journey, everybody has their own timeline. So, if you feel ready, here's a couple of things to consider. Before you are eligible to have a license to drive in the state of Rhode Island, you first have to learn how to drive. And there's a couple of different steps that comes along with it. The department that is responsible for determining who can drive and offering those tests to prove that we can drive is the Division of Motor Vehicles. You've probably heard it called the DMV. Now, there are a few steps that we have to take. You can't just walk into the DMV and have them hand you a license. And of course, you know that already. So first, we need to learn the rules of driving. Before we ever get behind the wheel of a car, we must first pass a permit test. Now, without passing that permit test, you will not have a permit to practice driving. A permit, or a learner's permit, as it's sometimes called, is an actual document that gives you permission to practice driving. It's not the same thing as a license. It is a form that allows you to practice. Before the DMV will give you this document, though, you do have to pass that permit test. So that's a lot of words. Let's break it down a little bit here. First, we have to learn the rules of driving. Then, step 2, we pass the permit test. Step 3, that's when you practice driving. Step 4, pass the road test. The road test is where you're actually going to take the test by driving, by demonstrating that you can follow the rules of the road behind the wheel, demonstrating that you're a safe driver. So, first of all, how do we learn the information that we need in order to pass the test? Now, here you can see this is the driver's manual. Now, the driver's manual can be found at the link that you see here on your screen. Let's just click that. And it's going to take us to this website. Now, you do have the option to download that manual. So if you like to have the paper manual that you can write on and highlight, that manual is for you. That can be found right here. If not, if you prefer to have something, I would too, that's a lot of information, you're going to want to scroll down to the online version. So you can see I'm scrolling here on my screen, and you can break it down into different subjects. So you have here applying for a license. If you click the plus, it gives you information, just like you're going to see here in today's presentation. Now, I'm filming this in April of 2026. If it's later than that, you might want to pop back here and just check that everything in the presentation is still the case. As laws are updated, as prices are updated, you might find some changes here on the website. And then you can scroll down to each section. So you have 2, 3, 4, just click the plus, then pick a section. So let's do distracted driving. Now here under distracted driving, it gives you some information. Some of you might prefer to do it this way, to read one section a day, to study one section a day. Some of you might, as I said, like to read. Others might benefit from listening to the information. Now, I am in Microsoft Edge right now. So with that, if I hit on my keyboard, Control Shift U.
Distracted driving. Driving requires your full attention. Alcohol and other drugs are not the only factors that can cause a driver to be impaired.
So as you can see, when I hit Control Shift U, the read aloud function turned on in Edge, and it started reading the information on the screen to me. And it also highlighted the words. So again, if you have dyslexia or you just prefer to hear something instead of reading it, that would be a good option. Again, Control Shift U. Now, what if you're not an Edge user? Then we want to think about Chrome. So I have Chrome here. Let's just do a little of this. Copy it. Paste it here. So now we're in Chrome. Now, unlike when we're in Microsoft Edge, and I am on a Windows device, so it may be different if you're on a Mac, but on a Windows device, I go over here to the 3 dots, click, and then I come down here to More Tools, Under More Tools, then I go to Reading Mode. Reading mode allows me to choose. So if I go here to distracted driving, and then I hit play.
Distracted driving. Driving requires your full attention.
Attention. Alcohol and other drugs are not the only factors that can cause a driver to be impaired. Driver distraction and inattention are also major causes of impairment, resulting in that.
So as you can see, in both Chrome and Edge, there are options to have the screen read to you if that's your preference. So you have a couple different choices here. You can print the manual, highlight it, write, take notes. You can access the information here and read through each section, or you can access the information here and have that information read to you as well. I find personally, I like to do a combination. So typically this manual that you see on your screen, it's a lot of pages, it's a lot of information. But what I might do is spend, each day or a couple a day, read through the sections, and then maybe later while I'm, I don't know, making dinner or cleaning the kitchen, I'll have it playing out loud so I'm listening to it there as well. So it gives me a couple of different modalities through which I can get that information. So we're still on step 1 here. We're still learning the rules of driving. You can take different practice tests. These are just a couple that were recommended to me. We'll put the links for these in the description of the video so you can click on them directly as well. So that'll give you some time to really just practice. You're not taking, these are not the actual permit test. If you pass these practice tests, it does not mean you have your permit. These are just for practice so that when you take the real test, you'll have a little bit more experience with taking those tests. Now, how do you sign up for the test? Here's a quick video explaining the steps. I'm ready to take my permit test, but first I have to sign up for the test. So I'm going to go to ridmvreservations.ri.gov, just like you see right here at the top. That'll bring me to this screen, and now I'm ready to make a new reservation. First, I have to choose the type of reservation that I need. I'm going to click the down arrow, and I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 to license, ID, registration, and there's permit. Now, again, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 to written or computerized permit test. Click. Now I need to pick a day and time. Notice that if I go here to filter by location, the only choice is the Cranston DMV location. I can choose any of these available days and times. If they don't work for me, I can go to next. I'm going to scroll down and choose 1:15 p.m. on Friday, October 10th. Next, I'm going to enter my information. Remember, if you see this red asterisk, it's a required field. If you don't need to fill this in. Once you get down to contact information, you can choose either your phone number or your email. If you want, you can put both in. I'm going to put my email in. Now, they need to make sure that I put this in correctly, so they're going to send me a verification code. So I'm going to click Verify by Email and Send. Now I'm going to check my email and make sure that I got the message. It just arrived. The code from my email is 509087. Now, I have a hard time remembering appointments, so it's helpful for me to get a text message and remind me. So then I'm going to put yes, but that means I also need to put my phone number in. Now we're going to click Next. So I'm confirming, yep, I want my computer test for my permit in the Cranston location. This is the correct date and time. Now I have to agree to the terms and then confirm my reservation. Now I'm ready to take my permit test. So we're on step 2. We talked about just on the last screen where you saw the video, the basics of signing up for the test. So you've studied, now you're ready. Now, a couple things to note. This test is not free. As of April 2026, the cost of the test is $8.50. Something to keep in mind, if you're paying with a credit card as opposed to cash or a money order or a check, it's going to charge you a small fee. So about $1.55 in addition to the $8.50. Again, that may change as time progresses, so check the link down in the description to make sure that those costs are still the same. Now, how do you know if you pass or fail the test? You'll know right away. You'll know immediately. So as you're taking the test, you're going to take it on the computer. The computer will automatically score the test and let you know if you have passed or if you have not passed. If you have not passed, you can take the test again in 8 days. Couple things. You do need to bring a document, or actually several documents, with you. The first is a birth certificate or an unexpired passport. Before you leave for the DMV, check your passport if you're bringing a passport and make sure that it is not expired. So again, either your birth certificate or an unexpired passport. Make sure that you know or have written down your social security number. 2 proof of residency documents. Basically, what that means is they want to make sure that you actually do live in the state of Rhode Island. So it can be utility bills if you live in an apartment or a house where you're paying for water or electricity. You'll have a bill that has your name and address on it. If you're paying student loans, you might have those bills as well. Anything from your doctor's office or any mail sent to your home that has your name and address on it. And again, it needs to be a Rhode Island address. You're going to bring the payment with you and then the LI1 application. So we're still on step 2 here. I'm going to show you the application. It looks a little overwhelming, and that's okay. Everybody feels that way when they first look at this. Don't be afraid to ask someone to help you fill this out. If this type of an application is really intimidating, or fill it out and then have someone check it for you, because it is a lot of information. On this one, as you're filling it out for your permit, make sure that you check off permit, not that you check off license, because right now you're applying for your permit. Now, congratulations, you've passed the permit test. And again, it might take you a few times. It might take you 2 times. It might take you 10 times before you pass the permit test. That is okay. Everybody learns at a different pace. Some people benefit from practicing over and over again. Other people might pass it on the first time. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is valid. Once you've passed, now it's time to practice. It's recommended that you practice with an experienced driver who's had at least 5 years of driving. So, finding a sibling, a guardian, a parent, a friend, a partner, somebody who you can drive with who's been driving for at least 5 years. They'll be able to identify different tips, strategies for safe driving. Again, these are recommendations. It's recommended that you practice at least 3 or 4 times a week. Again, it's recommended to have at least 50 hours of driving practice before you apply for a license. At least 10 of those 50 hours should be at night. You might even want to consider driving in different types of weather conditions, driving when it's sprinkling outside or a little bit rainy, things like that, to practice driving in those conditions. Now, for people under the age of 18, for children and teenagers really who are getting their license, this is a requirement. 50 hours, at least 10 at night. For adults, it's not required, but it's definitely recommended. So for your sake, I would just say, I'm going to practice for 50 hours, at least 10 of those hours are at night before I will take my driving test. Now, you've done it. You've practiced those 50 hours. You're ready. What do you do next? Now we're on step 4, pass the road test. We're going back to the DMV website, so let's take a look at how we sign up for the road test. I have passed my permit test and I have practiced driving for at least 50 hours. I'm ready to take my road test. If I pass my road test, I will get my license. First, I'm going to go to the DMV website. The address is dmv.ri.gov. Here I can see below the picture of the DMV, it says schedule reservations and/or road test. Now I'm going to select road test reservations. Now I need to enter my license permit number. I'm going to enter my last name, my date of birth, and my zip code. Then I will click continue and go through the process of registering for my road test. Now, one thing to note on that video, you saw that I got stopped once I had entered my permit number, and that's because I don't have a valid permit. That happened a long time ago. Over 20 years ago, I had my permit, so I don't have that number anymore. So I just put a fake number in, and then you'll go beyond that to fill out the rest of the information. Now, does it cost money to have a license? Yes, it does. Again, just like with the permit, there are additional fees if you pay by credit card, but the general fee is $40.50 with an additional fee of $1.55 if you pay by credit card. After your road test, so you will be driving during your road test with another person in the vehicle who's going to be watching your driving. And they are going to determine if you're ready to have your license. They will let you know right away after the road test if you have passed or failed. If you failed your road test, again, that's okay. Many people don't pass on the first time. Some do, some don't. If you don't pass, you can take it again in 30 days. In those 30 days, keep practicing. Those 4 to 5 days a week, practice with an expert driver. Things to bring with you to your road test. The first is your learner's permit. You have to provide proof that you have your learner's permit. You need a vehicle that is registered in the state of Rhode Island. There must be a license plate on the front of the car and on the back of the car, excuse me. The car also needs to have a valid, not expired, inspection sticker. What you see here on your screen is an example of a valid Rhode Island inspection sticker. That means that it hasn't expired. An inspection sticker is usually applied right to the windshield. So check the windshield of your car and make sure the expiration date has not passed. You also need a valid registration certificate. So I said earlier, a vehicle registered in the state of Rhode Island. So again, Rhode Island license plates, and then the registration, the actual paper registration, will not be expired, just like your inspection. So both need to be valid. The other thing you'll need is a valid car insurance identification card. So making sure that you have car insurance. And once again, that pesky application, you'll need it again, the LI1 application, which looks like this. In this case, instead of checking off that you're getting your permit, you will check off that you're getting your license. And again, don't hesitate to have someone help you with this application or to check the application once you have filled it out. Once you have your license, first of all, congratulations. But there are some things to consider when you're driving, and these are some things that Joan mentioned as well. Access to a car with a valid inspection sticker and registration. So just like we said you needed that car for your driving test, you need that same level of criteria for just being a licensed driver. Each car that you drive must have valid, not expired registration and unexpired or valid inspection sticker. You also need car insurance when you are driving a car. The other things to keep in mind, that your car needs either gasoline or diesel. Now, when you're filling up your car, when you're filling up your tank, you have to remember, does your car require gasoline or diesel? So make sure you know that information about the vehicle you're driving. Your car cannot use either or, both types. So as you see here on your screen, this is one example of a gas pump. You can see that the gasoline 85, 87, 91, those pumps are on one side of the panel here, and then diesel is separate so that people don't get confused and accidentally pick the wrong one. So when you're filling up your car, if your car takes gas, my car, for example, takes regular, so 85. I check to make sure I'm not pressing the diesel button, that I'm pressing the gas button. If your car takes diesel, then you'll select diesel instead of gas. Your car will also need to be maintained. You'll need oil changes after a certain amount of miles. My car, for example, I require an oil change every 5,000 miles. And then on top of that, sometimes different lights on the dash will turn on, and I'll have to bring my car in to be fixed for various reasons. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. Good luck on your journey to getting your driver's license. Thank you.